Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and it's a happy Monday to the people, August 25th, 2025. I hope everybody had a really good weekend, and I'm hoping you're waking up today fired up for a really good week. And if you aren't, we here at the Rome Show hopefully can change that tune for you before you even get going on this Monday. Hey, follow the Rome Show 1, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. It's in the bottom left side of your corner. If you follow the social media, life will be easy. I hope you enjoyed the new intro. Low-key fire, right? Thank you. I wanted to roll that out in anticipation for what will be happening next week, which is you watching the Romanella's YouTube channel for the Rome Show Live. That is right. Starting September 2nd, we've been reminding everybody of this for the last week or so, but this is the last official week on 12 Ounce Sports. So once Labor Day hits and we flip to the backside, you will be watching the Rome Show on the Romanella's YouTube, the Rome Show 1 on X, and Andrew Romanella on Facebook. Okay? Same avenues, just slightly different title as to where you're going. So I want to make sure everyone's locked for that, because the Rome Show continues with a slightly new mothership. Me, my own mothership. All right? We got a good show for the people today. Best and worst of the weekend. A few different sports to encompass. We continue 32 teams in 32 days. And not only do we talk about another football team, but we also give you our predictions on the NFC North. Over the weekend, the preseason ended and all the National Football League teams have cut their rosters down to 53 in preparation for 10 days from now, or 11, one of those two, the start of the National Football League season. So let's start there with the weekend's best and the weekend's worst. We'll start with the weekend's worst. First and foremost for your weekend's worst is Shilo Sanders. Yeah, Shilo Sanders, one of two rookie sons of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders and head football coach at the University of Colorado. Shilo Sanders was informed yesterday that he'll be waived by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shilo Sanders went undrafted in this year's draft and now being waived by the Buccaneers just 2 days after, yes, I'm about to say this, and it's going to sound stupid, but it happened after getting ejected from the third and final preseason game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shilo Sanders was battling for the, I believe, backup cornerback job, maybe the fourth guy in theory on the roster. And again, as an undrafted guy this late into training camp, gives you the belief that you really have the chance to make a roster here, but you cannot be getting yourself ejected from games. You cannot be acting like an idiot. There's levels to this. If you read the quote from Todd Bowles, he essentially says, this is professional football. You got to grow out of that. And I think, not to go beat a dead horse, not to go back on conversations that happened in April when the NFL draft was going on, but to go back for a quick second on some of those conversations. There's a reason why both Sanders men were either not drafted or their draft stock changed, because there's clearly something there with both Shador and Shilo that gave a lot of NFL teams pause. And then after the draft happens, you start getting into mini camp and you're into OTAs and you're into rookie mini camp. Shador Sanders gets pulled over for speeding at like 50 plus miles per hour. Okay. Now has seemingly since, I think, been really good and has seemingly since put himself in that quarterback room long term, I think, for the Browns. Keyword, I think, or words. Shilo now, though, flipping the script, giving himself a chance to make an NFL roster, gets ejected from a game and now waived. That's going to give other teams pause. And that's the problem here. You can't, even for a quick second, act like they expected you to. That is the problem. So now we'll see what happens today. I think it's 48 hours. Other teams have to claim Shilo Sanders. I think that's it. Either way, let's see. Let's see if another team's willing to take a shot on him. And then, obviously, on the flip side, we'll see what trends. Joe Flacco's the starter in Cleveland. But I'm curious to see what happens long-term with Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, and oh, by the way, their actual being paid to be this person, QB1 in Deshaun Watson. Weekend worst number 1 goes to Shilo Sanders. We continue. Second weekend's worst goes to Anthony Volpe of the New York Yankees. Now, if you are a baseball fan, you have been following along any bit of Major League Baseball, you know that the Yankees and the Mets, for let's at least simple conversation, call it 6 weeks. For at least 6 weeks, the Yankees and the Mets have not been playing the baseball that anyone really expected them to play. That could be a little extreme because I think a lot of people expected the Yankees to have some deficiencies because they didn't believe that they addressed those deficiencies in the offseason. The Metsies, on the flip side, like kind of really bad. Okay. It's just like way worse than anyone expected. Like, when's it going to turn around? Is it going to turn around? Is this who they are? It's been New York baseball for at least 6 to 8 weeks. In that conversation has been a lot of conversation about the Yankees shortstop, Anthony Volpe. Okay. Their first round pick from a few years back, supposed to be the guy that for long term is for lack of better conversation, like the next Jeter, though I don't think he should ever, and I don't think he was being held to the standard of 5 World Series, Hall of Famer, 3,000 hits, et cetera, et cetera. But the one thing you knew about Anthony Volpe was he was elite defensively. 2023, won a Gold Glove at shortstop for the Yankees, but the bat has not come along. Well, in his last 28 at-bats going into Sunday's game against the Boston Red Sox, Anthony Volpe had been 1 for his last 28. Since the dates of June 14th, Anthony Volpe's hitting 153. So why is it weekends worse if it's been going on since June 14th? Because he got sat down yesterday. And usually, ladies and gentlemen, with the amount of money that is tied up in first-round picks, with the amount of stock tied up in first-round picks, I can promise you that was the farthest from the decision that Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman, and the New York Yankees wanted to make. I'm not saying it's the decision that wasn't needed or not needed or was needed, whatever terminology I'm trying to use. I'm just saying, to a man, there's no chance this organization wants to be benching who they drafted and for the last 3 years they've been selling as the future shortstop for the next 10 to 15 years. Well, they did. And currently he's hitting 208 with 18 homers and 65 RBIs in 120 games, but leads Major League Baseball in errors with 17. The best aspect of his game, fielding. Worst shortstop in baseball defensively. And then you add the hitting, which have been a struggle. And the Yankees now are going to be forced moving forward with what is the best decision for this franchise. And that is going to be tough. So weekend worst definitely goes to Anthony Volpe. And by the way, this is not a shot at either of these two. I just assessed the weekend and said, who had a worse weekend than these two guys? I don't know if it was anyone. Weekend's worst. How about the best, though? Let's get some positivity up in here. I got 3 of them. The first one on your screen. It is your first weekend best. And it's going to go to, and I'm going to definitely botch this, so I'm sorry in advance. It's going to go to Kansei Matsuzawa from Tokyo, okay? I will summarize this for you. At age 20, he was a waiter, went on vacation, saw an NFL game, went home to Tokyo, wanted to become a kicker, so he taught himself how to place kick via YouTube videos. By the way, thank you, Kansei, for this segue. Subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube, okay? So that you have all of the Rome Show content starting September 2nd when we change the Romanellas on YouTube. So Kansei, he subscribes to Place Kicking on YouTube and gets himself to Hocking College in Nelsonville, Ohio. Yeah, this only gets better. He then starts kicking really well, though despite not a lot of English, but sports can be a breaker of barriers, which is a beautiful thing. He then gets really good at the kicking thing and transfers to Hawaii, and over the weekend kicked the game winner against Stanford. For me, there's no better weekend best than that right there. Shout out to Kansei Matsuzawa, the kicker from Hawaii. That's definitely one of the best stories I have ever heard. So is this next one coming up here out of the PGA Tour, Tommy Fleetwood. This is the best of all time, okay? Tommy Fleetwood yesterday won the FedEx Cup Championship on the PGA Tour. Now, okay, a lot of you might be a little confused as to how Scottie Scheffler, who's the world's #1 and is being compared to Tiger Woods during this stretch of his career, is not the winner of the championship of the PGA Tour. Well, I'll explain that in a second. But first, give Tommy Fleetwood his due. Been on the tour for 15 years. Never won a tournament until yesterday when he won the tour championship. I think it was at -8. Either way, check out these numbers. Over 160 events. He's finished in second place 6 times, top 10 finishes of 44. And at age 34, he won his first tournament, and it was the FedEx Cup Championship. What is that, you may ask? Well, it's essentially the regular season for the PGA Tour. Okay, so much like in Major League Baseball, or in football, we all come together, we play regular season games, someone wins a division, and there's a wild card. It is a similar scenario in golf, okay? However, 30 players go into the last weekend of the playoff, all sitting at even par, playing a 72-hole tournament, which has never been the case. That is new as of this year. So essentially clean slate once you get to the postseason. A quick overview of it, okay? The golfers collect points throughout the regular season. Majors and the Players' Championship, the winner of that tournament collects 750 points. Regular full field events that happen throughout the year, the best one I could probably think of is maybe the Waste Management, or one of the ones that has literally the best players in the world, but wouldn't be considered a major. Okay. 500 points. Additional events, 300 points. That's to the winner. Then after that, your points are scaled down based on where you place. That puts you into standings. Those standings then open up a 3-event playoff, starting with FedEx St. Jude's 3 weeks ago, then the BMW Championship last weekend, and then the Tour Championship this weekend. Then all players are eliminated over the course of the playoff, and then the winner of the FedEx Cup Championship gets $10 million. And then the purse is distributed all the way down to the 30th finisher, who gets $335,000. So congratulations to Tommy Fleetwood, not only on winning the FedEx Cup championship, but also on his first tourney in his PGA Tour career. Finally, yeah, clap it up. Chinese Taipei, also known as Asia Pacific, also known as the Tongwan Little League, has won the Little League World Series for the first time since 1996. The Taiwanese Little League, the Chinese Taipei, Little League, has won their first title since 1996, but they're 18th. Yeah, you heard that correctly. 18th all time. The Little League World Series has been going on in Williamsport since 1947. Question out there for the people. I'll give you till after the commercial break to see if you can write in the answer. Do you know the state, as in the United States, that has the most Little League World Series wins in the history of the Little League World Series? What state of the 50 states in the United States of America has won the Little League World Series the most amount of times in the history of the Little League World Series? You got until the end of the show. Someone write in, give me that answer. Who knows? Maybe a prize coming back your way. But congratulations to the dudes from Chinese Taipei. But I want to give a shout out to the United States champion, at least, though they lost in the final of the Little League World Series. It was the Mountain Region, State of Nevada Little League, Summerlin South Little League. Shout out to the boys from Summerlin South Little League. So difficult to even do what those young men did, which was win a United States title, let alone get to the Little League World Series. You are the second best team in the world. It's not just like your region now, your area, the world. So it stinks when you watch the kids be all sad when they lose, because yeah, of course they lost. They're sad. They wanted to win the whole thing. Doesn't matter how old you are or how excited you are just to be there. You're still going to be pissed if you're a competitor when you lose. But you start to put in perspective what these young men have done. And it's like, dude, this is reckless. And they were talking to a Boston Red Sox, the second baseman last night. I'm going to mess up his name, so I'm not even going to say it. But he was live on the air yesterday while the Red Sox were playing the Yankees on ESPN. And they talked to him about the opportunity to go to the Little League World Series and play for the Little League World Series. And he was talking about how it was an unbelievable experience for him. So, and I believe that was Sedani Rafaela was who they were interviewing. So, I mean, just memories for the rest of your life. Like, awesome. So, shout out to Chinese Taipei and even the Mountain Lakes region. All right? Awesome stuff. Little League World Series, always a fun time. Promote the game of baseball. That's weekend's worst and best here on the Rome Show. On a Monday, 8:25, we are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have 32 teams in 32 days. We're talking Bears, and the NFC North. Back after this, the Rome Show.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
With your host, Andrew Romanella.
That's me. When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. All right. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. The Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got 10 minutes left in this program. And before we do anything else, we need to remind you to subscribe to the channel. Head to youtube.com, type in the Romanellas, and hit the subscribe button. You'll get the Rome Show live every day starting next week. You'll also get the Locker Room to Life podcast fire venture with my beautiful fiance, Juliana Bellar. You'll get some golf content. You might get some other stuff in there as well. But the most important thing is you'll get the live broadcasting of the Rome Show every day, 7 a.m., starting September 2nd. So head to the Romanellas on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and all the social media handles, bottom left side of the screen, the Rome Show 1, Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok. Just hit subscribe. It'll make your life way easier. Let's get this thing started. A little 32 teams in 32 days. We are getting you ready for the NFL season, which, if I remember correctly, starts Thursday, September 4th, when you have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles at 8:20 on Thursday Night Football. So we got 10 days to get the people ready for the National Football League. But we're going through and we're taking our time. And right now we're in the NFC North and we have the Bears. Okay, and so here's the deal. We got Ditka versus the Hurricane. Okay, but the Hurricane's name is, all right, no, I'm not going fully into it. Here we go. The Chicago Bears have gone through a lot of change, starting with their head ball coach. Ben Johnson comes over from division rival, the Detroit Lions, where he produced, on the offensive side of the ball, the best offense in the league last year. If you want to hear about it, the Rome Show podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, we broke it down on Friday. Or just subscribe to any of the things I just told you to subscribe to, and you would have either heard it or you can hear it if you want to. But Ben Johnson, now the head coach of the Detroit Lions. And the offensive scheme is very good. The offensive mind is very good. And you have a quarterback in Caleb Williams who was the number 1 overall pick in 2024 and only threw for 3,600 yards last year and 20 TDs. Not the numbers you're expecting from the number 1 overall pick. Now, there's got to be some leeway there. Matt Eberflus was the head coach, and he was fired 7 games in. His offensive line was atrocious. He was one of the most hurried, rushed, and sacked quarterbacks in the league last year. Okay? His weapons were good, but he had no time to get him the ball, often injured. And so now you're almost resetting the whole thing with a new head coach new offensive coordinator, new offensive scheme, and the talented quarterback that you believe, regardless of what you saw last year, should be the franchise quarterback moving forward. Look no further than that right there, okay? Because if you're the Bears or you're a Bears fan and you have to go again in the next 2 years through thinking about drafting another quarterback and is this the right head coach for this franchise, you're really going to not want to watch football anymore. It's been the same cycle for the Chicago Bears for a long time now. And I would say Jay Cutler has been the closest thing, if not the thing, for this franchise that actually was a franchise quarterback. And that didn't even last that insanely long. And there was what things went on during that time period. So the Bears in 2025, it's the head coach and the quarterback. That is it. And then you go to everything else. And yes, in that is the offensive line. They retooled the entire thing. How good can that offensive line be? Can we keep Caleb Williams upright? Okay, DeAndre Swift, 958 yards last year. Can we get that running game going a little bit more? He can also catch the ball in the background. What's this defense going to be? Because last year, we already talked about the offense, one of the worst in the league, 28th ranked offense in national football. Mid-level defense, okay? Here are some of the numbers on the defense last year. Opponents' points per game, 21.8, 13th. 369.2 yards per game given up, 13th. Passing yards, however, 232 per game, 26th. And rushing yards, 136, 23rd. They need to do a better job of allowing the chunk plays. Need to do a better job of being stingy in the trenches. You look at it and say, both sides of the football, the Chicago Bears, can they be a team that is strong in the trenches? Can they put pressure on the quarterback? Can they force teams into 3rd and longs? Okay, and then can they keep their own quarterback upright? So that Moore, Roma Dunze, Swift, these guys that are talented weapons have an actual chance to affect this offense, okay? So I don't believe it is an exciting, insane, year for the Chicago Bears from the standpoint of wins and losses. They only are favored in the 17 games on the schedule. They're only favored in 6 of those games because of how hard their schedule is. So I put all that into the mixing bowl and I say, well, Andrew, what's your prediction for 2025? My prediction is the Bears get better. My belief is the Bears are a better team than they were last year. But there is an 8.5 line set for this team this year. 8.5 wins. 9 wins is fighting for a playoff spot. Do we think the Bears are going to be 8 to 9 wins? Do we think the Bears are going to go from being arguably the worst team in the league last year to being able to make the playoffs? And maybe worst team in the league is a stretch, but when you draft number 1 overall, there's all this hype. You re-sign one of your top wide receivers to a 4-year extension. You're on Hard Knocks, and then you got to fire your coach 3 games in. I don't know if that franchise is now turning around and giving me a playoff contender this year with a top 10 hardest schedule in the National Football League. So here, I'm going to take the Bears at, and I want to double check where they were last year because I think I got it wrong. Chicago Bears. I'm going to take them at 7-10 this season. That is going to be my prediction. Last year, they were 5-12. So I'll give them a plus 2-game increase to 7-10. I just don't know if they're going to be able to win 9 or 10 games in the NFC North, in an NFC that has 5 to 6 teams that people could legitimately see could win the Super Bowl. Okay? So Chicago Bears, 7-10. That is my belief. Quickly, I'll run through this. I got Detroit winning the division again. However, I only have them getting to 10 or 11 wins. Same with Minnesota. I got them at 10 wins. Green Bay, I think, might regress to 9 or 10 wins. And as I just mentioned, the Chicago Bears. That's how I think the NFC North finishes up. That's my 32 team in 32 days for this Monday. And that now means, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 divisions remaining. The North of the AFC and the East, and then the East of the NFC. We have 12 teams remaining in roughly 10 days. So we'll have to double up a few of these. But nonetheless, we hope we're getting you ready for National Football League season. Wow. That's the end of the Rome Show. Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, huh? What a blast that was. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Last reminder for today, subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube so we can get you ready for the station change next week. Thank you to everybody that listened. Have a fantastic Monday. You know what? I should say this. Have an electric Monday. Andrew Romanella. Peace!
Thank you for listening.